Hello friends, my name is Gerry and today I'm going to be checking out Toneforge Menace from Joey Sturgis Tones. The Toneforge series has been around for a while now, and this line of amps and plugins has grown a lot since its inception. Now we have Toneforge Jeff Loomis, Jason Richardson, and even Misha Mansour, of which I've actually demoed before. Today, we're taking it back to where it all began. To me, Toneforge Menace perfectly recreates that iconic metalcore sound that Joey expertly crafted on all of those classic records that he produced back in the day. With that out of the way, let's jump into Pro Tools and see what's going on under the hood. But before we continue, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos. Alright, taking a look at the session, you'll see that there's not a whole lot going on here. Here are my drums, my bass DIs, a bass low and bass high, 2 rhythm guitar DIs, and a lead guitar DI. If you've used any Toneforge plugin before, you'll notice that the interface is fairly consistent amongst all the models. You have your gate knob to adjust the noise gate, your input knob to adjust your input signal, and your output knob to adjust your overall output signal. On the top right, you have a question mark that if you click on, it'll open up the manual for the plugin in all of its PDF glory. Next to that, you have a spot for your tuner. At the bottom are all of your signal path modules, and command double-clicking on each of them will turn them on and off. If you disable the cab module, it'll actually disable all of the modules that come after it. Finally, if you click on where it says signal path, it reveals a much more linear looking window along with the secret magic module that engages Joey's magic post-processing. I'm honestly not really sure what's going on in there. It sounds like a bunch of EQ and other things to me, but it sounds good, so I just left it on the whole time. First, in the signal chain, you'll see an overdrive pedal that's very akin to your typical tube screamer, with all the same types of controls. Next is the actual amp itself with gain, bass, mid, treble, presence, and output controls. Here we have the cab module. You can choose between 4 different mic options, including a condenser, a 421, a 57 on axis, and a 57 off axis. Or you can opt in to load in one of your favorite cabinet IRs as well. For this demonstration, I decided to use the IR that comes with the plugin. Next, we have a really powerful parametric EQ section. And when I say powerful, I mean that a dB or two in either direction will really affect the tonality of your sound. You have 5 different bands to mess with, each with 3 different adjustable parameters such as frequency, Q, and gain controls. You can also select between a shelf or a cut on the high and low frequencies. Lastly, you have a limiter at the end of the chain to clean up any wild transients that you might encounter. And that's it. I love how simple it is. Sometimes when I have too many options, it can really send me down the rabbit hole and really kill any creativity that I might have had. That was the problem that I actually had with Toneforge Menace. It was the very definition of option paralysis. Cool for some people, but it really wasn't for me. For my rhythm guitar settings, I have the gate up a little to help make those staccato sections a little tighter, and I left the input knob alone. On the overdrive pedal, I have the drive at 50, tone at 50, and the gain all the way up. On the amp, I have the gain at like 7 or 8-ish, bass about the same, mids at noon, treble at 8, presence at 7, and output at noon. Now, that might seem like I'm using a ton of gain, but this amp actually doesn't dirty up as fast as you would expect your typical high gain amp to do. I actually find that it cleans up pretty well, and stuff like chords are still clear and articulate. On the cab, I'm using the condenser mic. On instinct, I originally went for one of their 57s, but after experimenting, I was the most happy with the condenser. That's really like the magic setting for this cab, at least it was for me. I had a hard time trying to find a sound that I really liked with the other mics. You get a lot of clarity with the condenser, but you don't get any crazy harshness that'll blow your head off. On the parametric EQ, I'm using pretty much every band. I'm high passing the low end at 120, I'm dipping some low mids at 200 to cut down on some boxiness. I'm cutting some 2K because with that condenser mic, it was way too pronounced and kind of honky and nasally sounding around that frequency. I'm boosting a little 8K to get a little more bite and clarity. And lastly, I'm low passing at 10K. And for the rhythm guitars, I decided not to use the limiter. Cool, so with all of that, let's isolate the rhythm guitars and see what kind of tone I got. All of the DIs were recorded by plugging straight into the instrument input of a Focusrite Claret 4 Pre. All right, cool. Let's start messing with some knobs and see what kind of sounds we can get. Ran out of song there. The settings I use for my lead tone are actually quite similar to the settings I use for my rhythm tone, except for that I have the gate completely off and I turned up the input quite a bit since I was using the coil split position on my guitar, so I wanted to squeeze out a little more juice. I bumped up the gain and the mids on the amp, and I also bumped up some mids in the parametric EQ. I'm still using the condenser microphone, and I have the limiter engaged to help level out the tone a bit and catch some of those spiky transients. Later models of Toneforge include effects like delay and reverb. However, Menace does not, so I have Soar, another plugin from JST, coming in as a send for my delay. And that's pretty much my lead tone, so let's go ahead and take a listen to that. And that's pretty much for Toneforge Menace. Thank you to Joey Sturgis Tones for letting me check out this plugin. Do you guys use plugins for your guitar tones? Comment below and let me know which ones are your favorite. Friends, I finally have merch. If you've been wanting to help support me, there's a link in the description that'll take you to where you can get yourself some sweet swagger. Do we still say swagger anymore? You can also keep up to date with me and follow me on all kinds of social media, all linked down below. And for more guitar videos like this one, you can head over to my channel, hit subscribe, and I will see you next time.